Hello, today I'm going to show you how I produce my vocals. So I'm a singer. I use a Shure SM7B microphone, and that is plugged into a cloud lifter, which gives it more volume because it's a quiet microphone. And then that goes into a Focusrite Scarlett 18i20 interface, and that is going into Logic Pro 10, which you're seeing on the screen right now. So I'm just going to walk you through how I would record a normal take of a vocal and how I would process it after that. I'm in a band, so I'm not usually singing over pop tracks. I'm singing over rock tracks, but today we got this Post Malone guitar trap type beat that I found on YouTube by searching Post Malone type beat. So that's sick. So on my tracking track, I have only 2 plugins, and I do that so that I can avoid latency so that there's no delay when I'm recording my vocals. Everything is snappy and on time. I use a vocal EQ. I just boosted my presence here, took away some of the annoying frequencies, and then dipped off the ends. After that, I use Greg Wells Voice Centric. This is a Waves plugin. It's really awesome for vocals. I have no effects on it. I just have the intensity turned up, and essentially that just adds like a sheen and a compression over my vocals so that I can hear myself while I'm recording. Cool. So let's go ahead and record a melody. I already have the melody mapped out in my head, so we'll just do a take of that and then move on.
Cause your feeling might be wrong. Cause your feeling might be wrong.
Okay, so we have a vocal recorded. There's nothing on it. I'm just going to take it off this track, move it onto my tuning track, and that is where we'll tune the vocal. So I select the track. I've got Waves Tune on it. That's what I like to tune my vocals with. So I already have the key set. It's F natural minor. So I'm just going to go ahead and press play and let the plugin scan the vocal.
Cause your feeling might be wrong.
So there was definitely a few shaky notes in there. It wasn't perfect by any means. So in order to just get a general correction of all those notes, I'm just going to go ahead and select them all. So I'm just going to turn down the note transition, and what that does is make the transition between each jump a little bit quicker, and then I'm going to turn down speed. That will get rid of any unnecessary vibratos that I didn't want or any shakiness in my voice.
Cause your feeling might be wrong.
So this is the wrong note. I'm just going to drag this down. You can hear the wrong note.
Cause you're feeling.
That's way too high, so drag it down a half step.
Cause you're feeling.
So that note is fixed, and I'm going to do that for the rest of these notes that are off.
Cause your feeling might be wrong.
So I'm decently happy with that. It sounds fine for this demo. So now we are going to bounce this down and commit the tuning to the track. So new track, that's fine. I'm going to drag this down into my main track, and that's where the rest of my effects go. So I'm going to go ahead and record the rest of this chorus, and I'll put some effects on it.
2 hours later.
Okay, so I went ahead and recorded the rest of this chorus. I tuned everything, and I just dragged it down on my main channel. So I'm going to go ahead and just play through with all the processing that I've put on it so that you can get a general idea of what I do, and then we'll pick it apart plugin by plugin. So here it is.
But your feeling might be wrong. But your feeling might be wrong. Shut the door in my face. You wanna run away. It's okay. Cause your feeling might be so wrong. So wrong.
So now you've heard what the processing sounds like. Let's pick it apart and go through each plugin that I put on this track. So what I do with my EQ is just I roll off the low end, roll off some of the high end, because you don't need those low and high frequencies for vocal. Everything lives pretty much in the mid-range. I boosted the presence around 1K, dragged down some unnecessary frequencies around 3K, and a little sheen on top. So that's just my basic EQ. And then I use gain reduction too, which is a Joey Sturgis plugin. I use this as my sort of pre-compressor, pre-effects compressor. So I use it to add a little air on top, which is like the high frequency sheen that pop vocals have. I turn up the compressor because most pop vocals are heavily compressed. Some breath, that gets rid of the unnecessary background sound, so it's kind of like a noise gate. Sibilance is like a de-esser so that the S sounds aren't overpowering and distracting from the vocal. So here's what that sounds like.
But your feeling might be wrong.
Then next is Greg Wells Voice Centric. This is a Waves plugin, and I use it in my tracking track just as a compressor. But here I also use the doubler to add a bit of width, and that makes it feel much more like a chorus vocal. It's nice and wide and deep. And the intensity is all the way up because it adds a nice compression and a nice sheen on top of the vocals that make them stand out really well.
But your feeling might be wrong.
Sounds pretty bold and I like it. So now it's time to add some effects. I put all my effects on buses and send them out so that I can control this dry vocal that you just heard independently of the effects. So on my first effect, I use H reverb, and that is a Waves plugin that I really love. I have the time set to 4.21, and that's pretty long usually, but I like the cave-like effect that it gives for a chorus vocal. I have it turned all the way to wet, which is important because since I'm just using this send for effects purposes, I don't need any dry signal at all. So I have a nice build-up, a decent size on it, and then here's what that sounds like. So that's what that sounds like soloed, and here it is with the actual vocal.
But your feeling might be wrong.
So there's a lot of resonance in that, and I like it a lot. So on my next bus, I have my delay. So that's bus number 2. And that is going out to H delay, which is another Waves plugin that I really love. I have it set to quarter notes, which is a little bit faster than I usually go. I usually shoot for half notes. I just think that the quarter notes fit more in this song so that it fills in these little gaps right here in this region. So I'll play it back.
But you're feeling might.
So it's feeling might. I think that fits better. I also have a compressor on this channel because I want to sidechain it to itself, and I'll show you why. This compressor kicks in when the main vocal isn't actually coming through. So in these little gaps like right here and here, that's when I want the delay to come through. I don't want it to be distracting from the dry vocal. Like in this part, it would sound too noisy. So this compressor sidechain to itself allows that sound to come through only when I want it to. So I'll play it back and you can kind of tell that it gets louder, like right here, here, and afterwards.
But your feeling might be wrong.
If you're watching this compressor, you can see that when the dot moves down this hill, that's when the delay actually kicks in. So that is my delay setup. And next thing is I just like to add a simple phaser on my pop vocals because I think it adds a unique, like, ethereal sheen to it.
But your feeling might be wrong.
So it adds this like stereo drifting type effect. Very strange sound, but I think that when you use it in like really small amounts, like I have it turned down to -17, so that's pretty quiet, but I think it has this really subtle effect to the vocals that helps it a lot. And here's everything all together.
But your feeling might be wrong.
So you can hear the dry vocal completely clear as day, and then you can also hear the delay coming through when you need it. The reverb has a nice background cave-like hugeness to it that complements the lead vocal. And then the phaser is so subtle that you barely hear it, but I think it's there for me at least. I like it. So these are all at -12.8, -13, around the 12, 13, 17 range for my effects because I like that dry vocal to stand out more than anything. So yeah, that's my main vocal chain. And then I just had a couple background things like this right here, which is just a lo-fi. It's just straight up gibberish. I have everything exactly the same, except on the main channel, I added this plugin for the only reason was to use this lo-fi button right here. So I think that is cool to kick in before the chorus hits. I also forgot I added this little whoa sound. I changed the delay time on this actually to a quarter note triplet so that it stands apart from the other delay that's going on. I don't know, it just fills in this gap right here. And then for my verse vocals, I do pretty much the exact same thing, except I turn off the doubler on the Greg Wells just so it's not as wide. And I also turn off the delay because I think the delay should be an exclusively chorus thing for this song. And it feels a little bit more like a verse vocal.
Just spill the truth on my pants. God damn it, I thought I had a chance.
Hopefully that gives you some ideas on how to produce pop vocals. And thanks for watching.
She said she got a feeling, but I feel like but your feeling might be wrong. But your feeling might be wrong. God damn it, I